You do not have to know what you believe, but you always have to believe what you know. And this is because your beliefs do not have to be based on anything tangible or anything real. You can believe whatever it is you want to believe at any given time. It doesn't matter if you believe something completely absurd, it will be true to you. If you believe something that's true, it is also false to some degree. Everything is only half true when it comes to beliefs because you don't necessarily know it. But because beliefs work like this, you can change them and you can play with them because they don't have to be based off of anything. There are just simply things that you believe in yourself. Prayer and meditation is the art of believing. It is the art of changing your beliefs and changing the way that you think in order to believe something good if you have been believing something that has been harming you for many years. On this channel, I help people let go of their past limiting beliefs in order for them to get into the life that they want for themselves. I do this by applying stories on a very individual level, and you'd be surprised at how many stories actually have to do with you. Prayer is the art of believing. Prayer and meditation is the art of believing itself. The substance of belief would be faith. And this is why when people get into the Bible and things like this, they talk a lot about faith. But to understand what faith is, you have to know what belief is and how this works and how it actually doesn't make any logical sense. And it doesn't have to, because we can understand things from a logical perspective and we can understand things from an abstract perspective. Not everything has to make sense logically all the time, but it still makes sense to a degree. Faith does not need any proof to work. And now belief doesn't need to be based off of anything tangible. Here is something very interesting. Everything that you believe is also a lie. So everything you believe is only half true. This is explained by the fourth Hermetic principle, which is the law of polarity, which pretty much says everything exists in opposites. Now, belief is a perfect example of this because you can believe something and it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So now let's say that you believe something about yourself. If I said you were handsome or you were pretty, if you were beautiful, and you thought you were ugly, you thought you were the most ugliest person in the world, who is lying and who's telling the truth? We're both telling the truth and we're both lying because you may believe something that is opposite of what I believe, but that doesn't mean that I am wrong and that doesn't mean that you're wrong. You just hold a belief about yourself and I hold a belief about you as well. But it doesn't mean anyone is more right. And you see this in people who believe in many things about themselves, and you're just confused as to why somebody would think so many things that are negative about themselves. You may think somebody is so smart, capable, and attractive, but they think the opposite of themselves. And this is why. Because we all have our own individual beliefs, and it does not have to necessarily be true all the time. Now, when it comes to belief, you'll see that the word lie is in there. To believe means to lie to yourself about something. And this is because everything that you think or believe is also half false. It is true and false at the same time. Whenever you want to actually change your beliefs themselves, you have to understand that all of your beliefs and ideas are made up of statements. Now, when it comes to statements, statements work in a way where you say something about yourself. You say, I am ugly. That's a statement. It's not a question and it's not anything that can be up to interpretation. It is just something that you say. I am ugly, or I am capable, or I am this, I am that. They're all statements. Now, when you look at the word statement, you'll see the word state and then meant. Meant, this word here means mind. Now, all of your beliefs and ideas are just made up of statements. So when we flip this word statement around, you'll see that mind is first and then state. So mindset, state of mind. So whenever you say something about yourself, whenever you say a statement, you are switching into that state of mind, and that is becoming who you are. So you have to be very careful about what you say about yourself, or what you believe about yourself most of all, because these are all the statements and all the ideas that are allowed to live inside of you, and which then becomes something. You are the sum total of all of your beliefs, and this is just made up of all of those statements that you say about yourself or believe about yourself or go over in your head. Now that we've established kind of the groundwork of belief and how this works in your head, now we're going to go into prayer. and meditation, and how this actually changes the way you think, and how this can get into creating the life that you want for yourself, or manifesting the life for yourself, however you would like to say it. In the Bible, in Mark chapter 11 and verse 24, it says, "What things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them." So the reason this is so important is because it has to do with belief and actually having your desire fulfilled. Now, I'm going to get into why having a desire is not a bad thing and how it can be a bad thing. But I'm just going to go over for now how this applies to creating what you want for yourself. In the Bible, it says, when you pray, believe. Now, that is very important. To believe something doesn't necessarily have to be based off of anything. Believe that you have received something, and then you shall have it. Now, when it comes to yourself and you say, I am good for nothing, or I am this bad thing, this is a statement you're telling yourself. And so you are believing that thing about you. So it is becoming something real in your experience. This is what you're actually putting forth. This is what you're putting out there. Now, if you want to change it, you have to change the statements that you say to yourself. Or when you meditate and when you actually pray, you have to change the way you speak to yourself in present tense. And the next verse to illustrate this is actually in Joel chapter 3 and verse 10, which states, "Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong." So there's the statement at the end. I am strong. I am, and then whatever it is you would like for yourself. And then the beginning of this verse is saying, beat your plowshares into swords, which means changing your mind, changing something about yourself, beating it down, in other words, changing one form into another, changing the substance of one thing into another. The problem is not you per se. The problem is actually just the beliefs themselves. But your beliefs can change. Those things have to be beaten down and changed from one form into another. Simply put, that is what prayer is. It is the changing of one belief into another. It is desiring something and then having it fulfilled. You don't want to feel like you're good for nothing anymore. You don't want to be continuing suffering the way that you have been for years anymore. And that is completely fine. That is normal. That's why many people pray. And this is where meditation comes in too, because prayer and meditation are one and the same, where when you pray, you're asking for something. To meditate means to dwell in that state until it becomes a reality. So you actually believe that thing which you are saying to yourself. You no longer want to be depressed. You no longer want to be in the state that you are in. So then you would meditate and dwell in the place you would like to be. And this is how you pray here. It's explained in Matthew chapter 6 and verse 6. And it goes like this. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. Now, superficially, what it's saying is go into a closet and pray in there. Now, metaphorically, what it's saying is go into a compartment in yourself and dwell there. And in that secret place where nobody can see, once you dwell in this area, then God will reward you openly, or in other words, in this world. You have to dwell in your own mind. You have to meditate there. Go into that compartment and be there until you actually believe it, until you actually see it as reality. This is what belief is. Having something before it actually becomes real in physical existence. Now, a closet can be compared to a compartment. Now, the word compartment is broken up into two words, which has the word meant at the end, again, just like statement earlier. It's not a coincidence that the word mind is in here, because what you want to do is compartmentalize something that you would like for yourself, a place that you can go in yourself where you have your desire fulfilled. This is the compartment you enter into. It is just a section of your mind that you create in meditation, in prayer. This is where you go into the closet and you shut the door. You enter meditation. Now, to do this, you would have to find a place to sit. You would sit down and then, one, determine what it is you want for yourself or the solution to a problem. It doesn't matter how you're going to get there. You just have to know what you want in the end. Feel it as though it were real. Dwell in that state where it is fulfilled already. This is the very basic version of how to meditate and how to actually get into that state where you can change your beliefs and change the way your actual mind works. And when you get into the habit of meditating and praying and getting used to sitting down for longer periods of time, you can actually start feeling different and doing different things in your life and getting different results. Many times we get caught up in this trap where we just do things, we do more work, we put more hours in just to get the same results. And I speak on this often because this happens to so many of us, where we do so much work for the same in the end. And we want more, and it's natural to want more. It's very natural to have desires and have our desires fulfilled. The reason why we never get our desires fulfilled and the reason why it's so difficult for us to create the life we want for ourselves is because we don't know how to pray or meditate. This is something that is very foreign to us, or we think it just doesn't make any sense. Like, why would I sit down and actually visualize something? I have to go do something. I have to go out in the world and get all this stuff done. But it's not just about simply working. It's not about simply going out and doing things, because we can do that. But then the same thing happens. We don't ever get to a point where we feel fulfilled or we feel like, okay, this is it. And that's because we're missing that prayer or belief or faith aspect of things. It has to be faith and works, not just works. Now, another story in the Bible which explains why we do not get our manifestations, why we cannot create, and why we don't feel fulfilled is actually in the story of Hosea. I'm going to describe the story and explain why you can't sometimes get the life that you want for yourself. Now, in the story, Hosea is a man who marries a whore. Now, he marries her and he has kids with her. He gives her a house. He gives her everything she's ever wanted. And she still goes out every day and goes whoring pretty much. She goes out, sleeps with men, and in the Bible it says she worships other gods. She does so many other things. She goes out feeling unfulfilled, looking for something. And Hosea just waits for her every single day, faithfully, knowing that she's going to come back. Now, since she's whoring, naturally, he takes away everything from her. He takes away her clothes, he takes away her food, her money, and everything. So he doesn't give her anything until she comes back. Now, obviously, this is natural looking at the story superficially. You don't want to really give somebody everything if they're not staying with you, right? So what happens here is she is going out, and through the years, she is sleeping with a bunch of men, and Hosea is still waiting for her at the house. Now, a few verses from this story that really stick out. In chapter 2 and verse 7. And she shall follow after her lovers, but she shall not overtake them, but shall not find them. Then shall she say, I will go and return to my first husband, for then was it better with me than now. This one sticks out because this is telling you how she is feeling, how Hosea's wife is feeling here. She's going to be looking for something, and she's not going to find exactly what she's looking for. She's always going to be looking, and then nothing happens. She's going to say eventually, I'm going to go back to my husband. And the next one that sticks out is chapter 2 and verse 14. And it says, Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably unto her. So he's saying he's going to bring her into the wilderness and then speak to her there. Metaphorically speaking, in this story, we are the wife of Hosea. And the reason why this is because our brains, we have a left and a right hemisphere of our brain. Now, the right aspect is feminine. Now, this is the place where we believe. Since beliefs don't have to be based off of tangible things, they can be very abstract. We can believe anything. This is where our ideas dwell. This is where our feeling is, and it is considered feminine. Our beliefs go into many different avenues and many different categories. So when they do this, this can be considered husbands, or different things that we believe are considered husbands. As our beliefs go into many different things, maybe we believe that if we did a certain thing, then we would have this certain outcome, and then nothing happens. This would be a failed marriage, metaphorically. So then we go on to the next husband, and then we marry that idea, marry this other belief, just for nothing to happen, for nothing to come out of it. So then we do this over and over and over again, just to have nothing happen in the end, or the same thing happening. So eventually, in the end of the story, the wife of Hosea just goes back to him, and he accepts her with open arms. In chapter 2 and verse 14, as I mentioned before, sometimes we have to go through the wilderness. in order for us to realize this, that we have to just go back to our original husband, the original belief and the original idea. Now, our first husband is always going to be consciousness itself. So just like we have the left and the right hemisphere, in this particular story, consciousness would be that husband. Because this is the place where we go to fulfill our desires. Because as we go about living our life, going through many different beliefs, doing many things, holding on to many ideas that may be harmful to us, these things can actually harm us in the end. And then we go and change our ideas and our beliefs just for nothing to happen. So instead of jumping from husband to husband, or jumping from beliefs and ideas to other ideas and beliefs, and continuing doing that, we can just go into ourselves in prayer and in meditation and reach that state desired so that we can actually feel fulfilled. We don't have to go out in the wilderness anymore, metaphorically speaking, which is those hard times. All those times where we go through hardship, where we get put through hell, where we get put through the worst things possible, when that didn't have to happen. We go into meditation, we go into prayer to meet with our husband, which is ourselves, which is our consciousness, which is that union, which is the union between our feeling, our beliefs, our conscious mind, and everything. Our whole being agrees in unity, and it will express itself outwardly. In the end of the story, Hosea actually buys his wife back. So when he does this, she is all spent, and then Hosea actually goes out of his way to go get her. And how many times have you been spent in your life just going about and doing things just to get nothing in the end? This is the story of all of us, because we get very exhausted, we get very tired, and we say, I am tired of the same thing happening. I want this, I want money, I want to be happy, I want to have a successful marriage, I want to have a better life. And why can't you have it? It's because we keep going from idea to idea, and we're missing the point. So when we have this desire that is unquenched, that is unfulfilled, this is why we go about many things and go looking for things and try to do things in our physical existence to get things done. And this is very normal. This is a normal part of being a human being. But in order for us to break that cycle and to stop suffering, we have to pray and we have to meditate for us to get our desire fulfilled. So as I mentioned, desire is not a bad thing, because desire is the first part of anything that we want for ourselves. And that's not a bad thing. We can desire whatever we want for ourselves. But when desire becomes a bad thing is when we realize we don't have that thing. So it seems like a paradox, because when we desire, it means we want something we don't have. But we can always fulfill our desire when we pray and when we meditate. Because as we read before, when you ask in a way that you have received it already. So when you have received already, you no longer desire. You see, the paradox is already fulfilled itself. When you don't desire, you're good, but it's good to have a desire. It's very interesting. This story also draws a parallel with the woman at the well. When Jesus was at the well, and there was a woman there, and she actually had 5 husbands. And then Jesus told her, go back to her original husband. It's the same story, it's just told a little bit different. And so she was thirsty. And this is also characteristic of desire, because when you are thirsty, you desire to drink. That is completely natural. But Jesus says, I have water that you will no longer have thirst. So he will quench your thirst forever. He will quench your desire forever. So Hosea is Jesus symbolically. He draws that parallel, because Hosea actually means salvation, and Jesus is the Savior. So your Savior will always be that thing which fulfills your desire. So when you pray and when you meditate, fulfill your desire. See yourself in that state fulfilled. Whether you want more money, you want a happy relationship, see it as if it were real. You can do anything in your imagination. Your imagination is only limited by what you think should be real. So it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. You're just a woman in these stories. You can be put in that category because it's just talking about the right side of your brain, where the belief is. Now your belief and whatever you imagine ends up becoming a reality. An idea that is charged by belief becomes something tangible in the end. And this goes across many different avenues. In Snow White and in many Disney movies where there's a princess, it's talking about that same thing actually. And this is a very secret message that they put in the movies. So most of these old Disney movies also draw a parallel to this. They're telling you a secret message. All you have to do is decrypt it and demystify it. Because when you look at these stories superficially, you're just wondering why a random prince would just save the day and then the princess would just go with them. And sometimes they're just super young in the movie, so it makes even less sense. And people get into why is this a good movie for children to watch? But that's besides the point. They don't really tell you the point of things symbolically. Snow White, for example, she makes a wish on a well. And this draws a parallel to the woman at the well in the Bible, right? Because with wells, you usually make a wish. And Snow White is making a wish on a well where she's asking for her lover to find her. She wants to live a happily ever after. And again, this is the right side of our brains having a desire, a wish that we want fulfilled for ourselves. So then the prince comes on a white horse, and then the movie goes on. If you guys want me to explain every single part of this movie, let me know in the comments and I can make a video just specifically for that, because that's just a big explanation by itself. Every single aspect has a different thing that has a certain explanation to it. But yeah, let me know below if you want me to make a video about that one. But yeah, the prince comes, he saves the day, and then they live happily ever after. And this is pretty much the formula for those Disney movies. There's a prince, he comes, he saves the day, and they live happily ever after. Essentially what this means is the prince or the husband is the one that comes and saves the day. He fulfills your desire. That is the idea. We go about our life just doing things and we don't feel fulfilled. So we have to find that one Prince Charming or that one husband, that one thing, which is our consciousness, to go in ourselves and fulfill our desire, to have our wish fulfilled, our wish granted. So remember, if you are struggling from anything, first, find out what you want for yourself. Sit down comfortably or lay down. Then close your eyes, relax, and then imagine what your life would be like if you had that wish fulfilled. And then continue imagining that thing until it feels real to you. This is how you enter that state, and this is how you change your beliefs themselves. It is the art of changing your beliefs. It's the art of changing who you are and changing the world around you. This is true spirituality. This is actually how you change things in the physical reality. It's not just about some random woo-woo thing that happens within you. This is about changing something in real life. As you change yourself, as you change your mentality, you change the world around you. The world is just your ideas and your beliefs expressed outwardly. Every single impression that you have must have an expression. All is mind, everything is mental. It's the first law of the Hermetic principles. And now with the fourth law of the Hermetic principles, all truths are half-truths. So whatever it is that you believe will be true to you. And that's essentially all that matters when it comes to creating your reality. It has to be very, very true to you and to you only. It has to be your little secret within yourself. Remember, when you enter into the closet in secret, it will be rewarded to you openly in real life. So I know this can be very confusing. This is a very abstract concept. It goes into beliefs. It goes into things that may not make a lot of sense. But if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer to the best way I can. And please like this video if you liked it, and subscribe so you can get more content like this in the future. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.